What's going on, everybody? It is Friday, September 15th. It is Aloha Friday, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. Welcome, everybody. We got almost everybody here. Jimmy's out today, but we got the other 6 of us. And today we are talking about transcriptions. But we're going to do our best here to dive in a little bit deeper than just, oh, did you know that, you could get a transcription from a Zoom call, or, have you heard of Otter AI? We don't want to be at that level. That's sort of surface level. I think our goal with this conversation is to sort of talk about how, transcriptions have become sort of a new gold almost. And I know we sort of use terms like that, the new oil, the new gold, or whatever, but when you really start to dig in, and that's what we want to do today, you start to dig into all the possibilities with AI. Once you have transcriptions, really, it does open up just a world of personalized content and communications and all those surface level things. But then also, like in sales, discovery calls and diving into parts that you missed because you're always thinking about that next question that you wanted to answer, but you missed 3 or 4 that came in from the potential prospect. And so it could be a great way to go back and say, well, what did I miss? What should I have handled? How would I approach that answer if I came back to it? So on and on and on, but want to open it up to you guys. Tell me about transcription. Tell me how you're using it. And we'll just kick it off.
Do you mind if I lead with a little bit of a history lesson on this one?
Sure.
Because I've used transcription for many years. I've literally paid people to manually do it. And then probably most of you would have heard of a website called rev.com, which was
that's
kind
the
of
first one I used.
Yeah, that was the first one I really used, where you could pay them. I think at one stage it was about US $1 per audio minute, which was really cheap back in the day. And they actually had a live person doing it. And for the most part, it was pretty good. And then they started introducing this computer-generated version of it, which was a lot cheaper. But my experience with it in the early days was it wasn't real good in accuracy terms, and particularly not with my delightfully non-American accent, because all of these products are primarily tuned for US accents. But in the last, 6 to 12 months, I'm just seeing better and better quality from all of those tools, to the point now where I couldn't tell you the last time I paid a live person to transcribe any of my content. And Rev has put their prices up anyway, so there's an incentive not to. But I've interviewed a client for a couple of hours, had it transcribed, and I ghost wrote a book for him. I'm in the process of probably about to do the same for myself for my second book. So yeah, great tool, and the new technology side of it, I think, is great, and it's just going to get better. So it's something everyone should be using. So that's the history lesson.
Yeah, very similar to what I had too. Rev, and then earlier days after Rev would be Otter was the first one I sort of used that did okay. Like you said, like 50% right, 50% wrong type of thing, but at least it was cheaper than Rev. And then moving on from there. So yeah, very similar.
So I think, Aaron, one of the things that you that you're talking about or referencing is what transcription does to allow not just like article content or this is what happened in a meeting, but something that could in fact be transformed for like a book, right? Or something that isn't like a light thing to think about. Like, hey, I think I'll write a book today.
Well, writing a book is hard work. I've done it, and it's so much easier to be able to just talk to somebody or have them interview you and turn that into the bottom line of a book. And no longer is that a huge task that will take 6 months or a year or 2 years. Ditto if you want to transcribe meetings and turn them, or interviews, and turn them into content pieces like blog posts and stuff like that. It's so much more powerful now than just turning words into text. Turning audio into text, I should say.
Right.
So, and I'll a little bit later, maybe I'll do a demo of my favorite tool for this, which is Descript. But if you guys have got anything else you want to throw in.
I do. There's one thing that we're starting to use transcriptions for. So for a lot of, I guess, B2B companies from a marketing and sales side, things like Gong and even Outreach, you're starting to get, they record sales calls, any calls, demo calls, and it's more of an analysis. And it once started as more of a repository for all the calls so people can look back. But with so many calls, especially for larger enterprises, it's a kind of a pain to go back. Now, Gong launched their new call spotlight and smart trackers where you can ask against the call. But what you could do, especially from an AI automation perspective, is you can get the transcription, but what's better is then you can summarize the transcription. But going beyond that, then you can do an analysis of the transcription or analysis of the summary of summaries. So what I've been doing is summarizing Gong calls for, I don't know, however many in a given month. And then at the end of the month, so all these summaries are automated. And then at the end of the month, you summarize the summaries. So, and then in the prompt that you're providing, then you can be very specific on what you want, what you're looking for, whether it's basic pain points, or even if certain campaigns are effective in, or what people are actually saying, like, and it's it could be beyond marketing and sales. It could go into product research. It can go into R&D. So there's so many things that you can do now with just those summaries that now you can actually do deep dive. I would start saying quantitative analysis that sometimes would be very expensive, to do a research firm, while you have all these calls. I would say 40, 50, 100 calls a month that most people don't get back to.
Right.
Yeah, and all that is sitting gold in the data, right? Like all of that, like you said, could be deep analysis into all of it, for sure. So I love that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Being a sales guy in previous lives, and most of my career has been in sales, and being that I use CRMs and that you're only as good as your notes, right? You're only as good as what you can put in the CRM, because a week later, I completely forgot the call. I don't know who this guy is or gal is. So CRMs and me putting notes in were absolutely crucial to success in my position, and how you categorize that lead, and so you can understand the dashboard can produce reports for your boss. All that kind of stuff is like part and parcel to a successful role as a salesperson. So take that chunk and think, right now, I didn't start recording calls. Maybe I'm late to the game until last year at this time is when I even Zoom. I just didn't even record my calls, which I was like, now I'm thinking back, what an idiot I was. I could have done just the recording, would have been nice. But HubSpot had the integration that automatically did that. So I just said, okay, sure, why not? Go ahead and record my calls, and it transcribed it. But all that to say, based on what Carl was saying, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and one of the functionalities that they brought to the table, which I think is going to be brilliant moving forward. And again, we're at an inflection point. All the capabilities of the software right now isn't quite where it's going to be. I know we've said that for 20 shows, but I feel like it's so close to about to be. It's about to be. So like what I envision, what I'm rambling about here, is that if I can be on a call with a client, prospect, whatever, it should record it. It should transcribe it. It should do sentiment analysis. It should add that to the dashboard so that my manager can go in, or a previous manager, whoever's manager, go in and say, give me the top 10 candidates based on sentiment analysis. Like during the call, they showed that they're most excited about this product. That's AI will be able to do that like this. Salesforce, HubSpot, that's coming very, very soon. If not, it's already in development. I mean, what if they aren't doing that? They're stupid. But I feel like this transcribing that you're talking about, Carl, and using it for informing decisions is going to be just automated in the future. I think that's where the true new, as we talked about, transcribing a new era, that's where it's going to come to life. Sorry for the rambling.
Do you think though, right now, so yesterday, for example, we had our, one of the community meetups was generative AI, and I think 60 to 70% of the questions asked were still about prompting, right? Still basic prompting. But when I showed that example, I just went through that example. I think everyone's minds was blown. One of those, wow, that's amazing. But I don't think people are even like even if I think you, so what I was doing is starting to put everything on Slack. So here, all you need to do is take your face and go to Slack and read the summary of summaries. You don't even need to go into, like, I took out all the steps you need to log out, just read it. The thing is, though, I don't think people are reading it. So, like, how it's a massive behavior change to introduce these things and put it into the workflow. So let's say even if everything is automated, like everything is automated, people still need to know that it is automated and actually like consume that automation, because in the end, someone's going to have to be like, okay, because of this, I made this decision. Like, but we try to eliminate everything up to that point where that person made the decision. We're obviously not there yet. I find it right now, it's very difficult to get people to even wrap their head around something that you've built, because it becomes way too complicated for them to understand, even though it's sitting right in front of them. I don't know. I don't know if you
it's
all
behavioral management. He had behavioral change, right? It's so hard, change management.
Yeah.
Brian, would you be able to address the comment we had from one of our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Maria, I really appreciate you putting this in here, because I think actually, as much as I'm in sales, I find that I talk about healthcare and AI probably more than any other topic. Probably that could be. My wife is a dietitian, so she's in the healthcare space, and I work on the. I'm a volunteer and I'm a co-chair for the Commission for Nurse Reimbursement. So this comes up quite a bit, and I'm not exactly, you could certainly throw in another question, Marie, if I'm not nailing this. I think a lot of times when I see a question like this, is there opportunity to use in healthcare? Absolutely. A lot of times the follow-up question to that is, but what about like HIPAA and other requirements and stuff? Obviously there's tools that are being built today or that already do exist that are AI and HIPAA compliant. And so I think we'll see more and more of these softwares emerge into the healthcare space. Typically healthcare tends to be a little bit of a lagger in terms of, getting into some of these areas because of maybe red tape and all these other areas. However, I can tell you one way you can use it right now, if you're not, is very much the way my wife uses it. So just quick background, my wife is a dietitian, but she is no longer bedside. She runs the internship for like the state of Florida, basically through the Department of Health. And so she has not young students though, that are transitioning in their career into dietetics. And so she's always teaching about, the bedside manner, things she did years ago when she first came out as a dietitian. And so we've talked multiple times about how she has used her own, voice notes and transcription to help her craft better, more personalized content going back out for her students, but also to help her students craft better, more personalized messages going out to their patients. So an example of this, I think I've used this before, but an example would be, okay, you get a quick note on what a patient in a room needs to be discussed about nutrition. So my wife might have gotten that note really quick. It says, oh, okay, she came in for female patient came in for diverticulitis, but it turns out she has diabetes. She's actually originally from Guatemala. She speaks English, but she also speaks Spanish. There's a mix there. And so what my wife is able to quickly do without abusing any HIPAA laws is use a tool like ChatGPT to say, okay, this is sort of the pinpoints of where I have some notes on it. And so she might use a transcription to write her notes, and then use a tool like ChatGPT to say, how would I go into this patient and give them a more personalized response, considering the fact that they just found that they had diabetes. The world is going to change a little bit. There's a lot of anxiety that's into that. And one of the ways my wife was able to do that is to say, hey, I could generate a nutrition plan, a meal plan, but in that meal plan had more foods that were would show up in a Guatemalan diet, right? So more authentic ethnic foods for that patient, so that the push wouldn't be as hard. So I think this all goes back to, in healthcare, I need to connect you. Perfect. Here, I'm reading it, but I didn't put it up on here. Yeah, we absolutely can connect, Marie. I talk in healthcare all the time, and like I said, I'm leading an initiative in AI for the nurse, the Commission for Nurse Reimbursement with Rebecca Love. So we can certainly talk on that. But what I would say is it all comes back down to at the end of the day, this transcription and allowing it, like Carl's saying, to do all the sort of heavy lifting for you. Really, in healthcare, what it comes down to is better patient care. And it's not only just better patient care, but then you have all the ripple effects to that, which is if I'm able to give better patient care on a high volume patient set, what does that do for me as the professional, the physician, the dietitian, the whatever, the tech, to guard against things like burnout and other areas. So I don't see it as just like, oh, there's this transcription. In healthcare, I see it as not only being better for the patient, but also protecting our most vulnerable or overworked in the healthcare against things like burnout and enabling them to handle an insane workload coming out of post-COVID, and using tools like this to make their life a little bit better. So I'll get off my horse on that, but I'm very passionate about that because I see the value, and there are people who are pushing very hard to it in healthcare. It's just that healthcare tends to lag a little bit as far as adopting new technologies, in the sense of they say it's because of HIPAA and other things. And oftentimes I think that's not as much of a barrier as people like to throw up.
So one of the things that I think you've got to think of when it comes to this whole idea of transcription, particularly with AI, is there's always been this problem in business that it's very difficult to retain the intellectual expertise that people generate over time. And when someone big in your company leaves, you lose a lot of that expertise. And although I don't really work in the corporate market too much, I've certainly heard lots of complaints about the fact that, we are losing our important knowledge. We don't have that expert who can train our staff because they're leaving for whatever reason. So, given the ability to record things easily nowadays, and you can kind of start to build that stuff into a lot of processes, this is a really powerful tool for companies to start collecting those conversations and transcribing them and feeding them into a knowledge database so that they can retain it. And then they can go in and summarize it. And as Carl said, the summary of the summary kind of thing. But it's a great way to keep hold of that information so that it's not lost from the company. So guys, how did I jump in and do my Descript demo quickly, eh?
Looks like Andy's got something to say.
Sorry, Andy.
Before you do the Descript demo, let me just mention that one of the very first ways that any of us were likely exposed to AI is through, for example, Siri and Alexa, where you're speaking to an AI. And that AI first started out just having to transcribe the voice. This is called speech to text, right? So that's a key function in AI. And I'm very interested in the advancements that will come about that will allow you in real time to do speech to text. Because remember, large language models are trained on text, not on sound. So you have to do that important step. And so the speech to text, the transcription is happening all the time when you speak to those AI agents that are in your home. And I'm interested in finding a way to really make it much smarter than even Pi is today. Pi is an example of a speech to text, then text to speech interface that creates a real conversation with an AI. And if you haven't tried it, go try it. PI, just look for it and try it out. And it's also available in the ChatGPT mobile app. So you can speak to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT speak back to you. And it's a much different experience than sitting in front of a computer screen or you're on your mobile phone and writing prompts. So it's really generic to AI to do transcription. And we've been talking about ways that the output of that transcription can be then processed by AI for knowledge management purposes and others. But I just wanted to point out that really transcription was at the foundation in Aaron's history of what was going on in AI for consumers, at least.
Right.
I love that. Yeah. I know, Aaron, you're going to pull up your screen as you're getting going. I'll just respond to Andy real quick and say, like, I say this to my clients a lot of times that you know, we don't think of it, but when we're typing, we're actually editing and filtering ourselves a bit, because it's just part of the process. We're translating ourselves, our thoughts into it. And I always find that just speaking out loud and getting closer and closer to that natural human language processing, a la the Alexas and things like that, as that integrates more into our day-to-day lives and business processes and Pi and things like that, I think there's a lot to be said that you're going to get better results out of that, because we won't have put that weird filter that happens between our brains to the keyboard, to the, you know what I mean? You're taking that whole extra step out of the process. And I think I definitely see a day where I sit down on my computer and I touch my keyboard and my mouse less. And I just say, okay, computer, can you open up this for me? I need to think about this today. I know this is on my list. Go ahead and show me my calendar really quick. Right. Yeah, I do have that at 9 o'clock. And that it's just a stream of thought as my brain is entering the computer, and it knows exactly what I want, and it's bringing up the pieces I need to go along with it. Okay. Sorry, Aaron. I know you got the Descript thing here.
So is it showing up on the screen? I can't see it.
No, I think I have to add it for you. Two of us do that.
All right.
There we go.
So just quickly, for those of you who are not familiar with Descript, as I understand it, it started out primarily as a video editing tool, but the big difference between something like not Photoshop, Premiere Pro or Camtasia, which I've used for donkey's years, is you upload your video, it transcribes it, and then you edit it by editing the text. So it's actually a text editor, but for video. And I'm going to just show you a couple of really simple things. Now, there's a lot more power in this than that, but I've only got a few minutes here. So I just recorded this 30-second video. I'll just play it for a second. Yeah, I think the audio should work.
Hi there, it's Aaron Malik here, and I'm just doing a quick video to demonstrate how to use Descript.
And down here, you'll notice I deliberately put some ums in. So just check this out.
It will yeah, definitely will make your life easier.
So first problem when you're recording video and audio is the ums. So one of the great things about this tool is the ability to identify them and get rid of them from the script. So take them away from the text, but also take it away from the video. So you just go up to this little guy here and remove filler words. And I hope you guys can see my screen all right. And it's got a whole pile of options there. I typically turn select all off, and I just select things like and that's about it. And then I just go remove all, and you'll notice that they disappeared there. But watch what happens. We'll start here. So if you remember the last time I showed you, I said about 4 or 5 times in there.
Easier. It will, yeah, definitely will make your life easier. And if you want to delete something.
So that's just that tiny little thing by itself is a really powerful thing. If you've got a long 30-minute or a 60-minute thing to do, it's a great way to, nobody likes umming and erring on videos. The other thing it does, which is really cool, is if you say, okay, I don't like that sentence or that word, I'm going to get rid of it. So let's just say we get this sentence here up to, actually, no, it will definitely make your life easier. Let's just say we want to delete the whole thing there. So you select it and you push the delete key on your keyboard, and not only is it gone from the text, but it's gone from here.
Yeah, it definitely will make your life easier. And it will remove them from the video. It's nice and easy.
So that is like 1/10 of 1% of what you can do with Descript. But that's the power of being able to use AI to turn your audio and video into a written format and edit it. For those of you who have never done any video editing and the idea freaks you out, this is like, you can use Microsoft Word, you can use this. It really is that simple. There's a lot more it can do. But hopefully that was just a useful little demo for people.
Awesome.
And I will stop screen.
Every time I see something in Descript, I always think like I gotta go back in. I should use it more. it is simple, easy. I use other tools and stuff like that, like Capwing and others, but I often do see Descript and think, oh, that does look easier. I should do that. So
speaking of tools, Beth, will you just share with the listeners a couple of easy to use tools that will just take audio like an MP3 file or recording from your phone and translate that into a text document?
So
Carl, well,
there-
if you're stuck on that, Carl mentioned a couple, but I'm not familiar with those at all.
Well, Otter will do
Well,
that. I mean, if you
Rev-
have the Otter app on your phone, it would definitely do that for you immediately. Like you would just open up the Otter app, press record. You could talk for 2-3 minutes, and not only will it be on the app, but it'll immediately be on the desktop as well. And so you would have the transcript that way. So that's a tool that you could use for sure.
I
Right.
like Build
I-
Better. I don't know if you guys are. I know people in this channel have used it, but I've been a fan of that transcription. And you can do. They have an alpha coming out that's on the phone, and I prefer that transcription because it uses GPT-4. I haven't always had success with Otter because it doesn't always know who's talking. But
What's it called, Robert?
Build Better. Yeah.
Oh, Build Better. I missed when you said it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of queen of workarounds, right? There are times where I've been in an educational situation where the information isn't transcribed and it's a 30-minute class and I want to find a specific point. You can share video with your Zoom and it will give you the transcription of it, right? So that then I can see, oh, right, this was at the 15-minute mark and I can search that transcript.
I'm sorry, explain share your video with Zoom.
So you're just sharing screen, right?
So just like I did then, Andy,
Yeah.
with StreamYard.
Because Zoom is automatically transcribing when you're, so you can record it. Sorry, share screen and record. Now Zoom is automatically transcribing it, so you may be able to search within the contents of a meeting. But I was doing it so that it's a recording and then delete the recording once I've found the place where I want to go. The other thing, this isn't going to really answer your question, Andy, but there are two other points that I think are important to make. Transcription can handle sped up audio, right? So I often double time my audios, or 1.75 times my audios, and have that transcribed because the whole process is a little faster. The other thing is just a little bit of a caution. Just because we can make giant amounts of content does not mean that it will be helpful for you if you don't have a plan going in about why you're making giant amounts of content. Because if you're in a situation where you're like, wow, I know a ton of stuff, I don't know what I want to lead with, don't make 3 hours of that if you don't have a plan for the other end, because 3 hours will be giant numbers of pages. And, ask me how I know. I just
Hey, Beth.
just think about that. All right. And I'm sorry, it looks like we're at TLDR time. Anybody want to?
Yeah, we can hit the TLDRs here and wrap up the week. Yeah, I guess let's we can either go around the horn or we don't have to go around the horn. I mean, who has the Beth, you kind of hit one, but if anybody else has some top tips for TLDR, I think let's or for transcription, let's do that.
Mine is record everything.
Exactly.
It's useless.
Yeah. Aaron's like, I'm recording right now. Hey, guys, you know what? Here's a top tip. You know who's not doing transcriptions automatically? StreamYard. StreamYard. That's who we record this
Hello,
through.
StreamYard.
And we would love it if you're listening to this recording, if you would add transcriptions to StreamYard. Sorry, that's not a TLDR.
Ryan, of course they're listening to this. Are you kidding me?
That's why I said it. So they can pull the name of StreamYard out of the transcript.
They're transcribing it and analyzing everything that's said by anybody on StreamYard, right?
Yes, that's what I'm assuming. Yeah, like a rubber said, of course. Okay, I'll use that as my time for TLDR. Who has one?
I'll just say that I'm going to double down on Aaron's. That yes, record everything. I was at a meeting yesterday, and quick take. Looks like I'm going to be joining the University of Tennessee in there as a faculty for their AI degree they're putting together. So more news on that later. But during the meeting, I was like, man, I wish I had my stupid phone recording this, because there's a lot of stuff was talked about, and I could have summarized it, recorded it. Now everything, I don't trust my memory anymore. Is my point. So record everything, not just videos or audio, but like face-to-face meetings.
everything on my phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you use, Aaron?
Just the Samsung audio recorder app that's built
Okay.
in.
Yeah.
Anytime I got a
Okay.
meeting, I record it. Just like Robert said, memory issues amongst other things. And it's just good to be able to go back and refresh yourself on what was discussed.
Yes. So when I said don't record everything, I didn't mean these things, because these are super helpful, right? You may remember like a part of what you had agreed to, but like, oh, seriously, no, somebody mentioned a web page and I want to know what that was. Right.
Yeah. I had a recording for every time I talk to my daughter, so she can't pull against me and say, but you said it was okay. And I'd be like, did I? Did I? I feel like you're mind tricking me right now. You're throwing a Jedi mind trick on me. I need the recording to go back and go, no, I didn't. I didn't say that was okay. You never said you were going to that friend's house today. You know? Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Andy. What do you got?
I got nothing.
Carl.
Aaron, Carl, anything?
So I think we missed one extension of the conversation recording where it's not just transcripts. There's now AI tools that you can, like, for example, rewind, where it's recording all the time. So I've just been trying it for the past month, and it's just been recording every single thing that I've been doing. And you can turn off the mic, you can turn on the mic, you can have screen recordings, turn it off for calls. But yeah, if you really want to get into recording, have a look at Rewind, or there's another tool called Augment, but Rewind's one where and then you can just search for what did I look up here last week, because we all forget. That's my TLDR.
Cool.
Nice.
Hey, Julie, I'm sorry, Marie, thanks for your comment. Glad you found it helpful.
Yes, thank you, Marie. I'm glad you did. And let's connect offline. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. So yeah, definitely appreciate that. Okay, let's wrap it up for the week. It has been a wonderful Aloha Friday. I didn't talk about it at the top, but I've had entirely too much matcha. And I'm way too wound up. I clearly put too much powder in it, and I'm going to suffer the rest of the day. So that's my Friday. I hope you guys have a great weekend, everybody. And we will be back next week with all new topics that we have not decided what they are yet, but they're going to be great. So you should come back and see us.
AI. We know that.
They're going to be about AI. Nice catch, Aaron. For sure. We're positive of that. We're not changing the whole model. All right, guys. That is it for us. We are out. We will see you as soon as I get my banners. We will see you next week.
See you later.
Happy Friday, everybody.
TGIF.